Hello. Today's conversation is with Mary Brett, who is a singer and songwriter currently based in Kodiak, Alaska. We get into a cool conversation about her musical process, her history in academia, in history, and how she moved from that into being a musician, and also her philosophy on music making, frequency, and healing. But before we get to that, a few announcements on shows that I have coming up. Next week, I'm going out to Los Angeles to play some shows with Sap and Claw Elixir. On Monday, I'm playing in Long Beach at Vine, which is on 4th Street. On Tuesday, Sap and Claw Elixir is playing at the Redwood Bar and Grill in downtown Los Angeles. And on Thursday, this is August 4th, we are playing at the Mint in Los Angeles. And then after that, I'm back to Austin, and I have shows all over the place, so go to my Instagram or go to my website to see where I am playing. And remember that as an artist and a podcaster, I operate on a value for value model, which means that whatever value I provide to you through my content, I ask that you respond in kind by providing value back to me, whatever that value is to you. So that could be a like, it could be a comment, it could be subscribing to my channel, it could also be donating money through my Venmo or through my Bitcoin, or it could be signing up on a monthly basis to my Patreon. And different levels have different sort of backstage content and things like that. But the idea is whatever value you derive from it, I ask that you respond by providing value back to me, so we get kind of a feedback loop in our community. Welcome to Music in Mind, with Anthony Calkins. Hello, everybody. I'm here with Mary Brett. She is a musician, and we met, was it last year, early this year, something like that, several months ago in Houston at a show at Super Happy Fun Time? Is that what it is? Super Happy Fun Land. Oh, that's right. Super Happy Fun Land, which was a truly odd venue in this kind of industrial neighborhood in East Houston. But it was fun because we were playing a show with Alma, Russ, and the three of us just kind of sat on stage and took turns playing tunes, and we sort of jammed on each other's tunes like a songwriter circle kind of thing. And I loved Mary Brett's music, and it was fun to play on her songs. And so I thought it'd be fun to talk to you on the podcast and hear a little bit about your process and your history as a musician and any other things you do besides music. So thanks for coming on. How's life?
It's a wild ride, man. Being up here, I'm up here in Alaska right now working, and that's been kind of a bumpy road because the job I came up here for that had my lodging and access to a car so that I could like do gigs and stuff, that fell through like 2 weeks after I got here. Whoa. So I had to either go home or find something else. And luckily I landed on my feet. I found something else. And so now I was working in fish processing, and now I'm waiting tables, which I've done so much before.
Sure.
So I just landed on my feet with an old skill and just making it work.
That's important. So the job is what brought you to Alaska, the fish processing job? Whoa.
Yeah.
What is a fish processing job?
So, when individuals or commercial charter groups go out fishing, they need it to then be processed, which is to like head it, gut it, fillet it.
I see.
Package it, freeze it, and ship it to where you live. Or if you live on locally, then, you just come and pick it up. So I was working for a small like mom and pop operation. I had met the lady at a aircrete building workshop in Terlingua, Texas, where I happened to be at the same time Alma Russ was. And so she was recording her album at this really old church in Terlingua and had me come sing a couple of harmonies for that new album she just released. I think Gold Rush is the name of it.
Nice.
And so yeah, it just like that Super Happy Funland gig has just become like this ongoing gift that keeps on giving.
It was a cool gig. I loved it. It was fun. Yeah. It was a weird spot, but it was a fun gig.
Yeah. So yeah, I came up here for that, and then it just, didn't work out. And like I said, found something else.
That's good. I mean, it's good that
I've
you
done a
have the
lot of jobs.
flexibility.
Yeah, music has always been like my passion and desire. So much to the point of I never wanted it to be the only way I make money, because then that like
Okay.
changes it for you, or at least I know it would for me.
Sure.
And like my process and where my songwriting comes from, at least still these days, which is just comes from really like deep personal spiritual like type place. And I never wanted that to be sullied by like I have to go play this gig, or I have to go do this because that's how I'm feeding myself and housing myself and all of that.
Interesting.
So because of that, and because I'm just an experience junkie, I just love learning new things. I've had a lot of different jobs. So when I lost my job up here, I just went on Facebook, like a local Facebook group, and I just listed some things that I did, and construction is one of them. And there was a guy who needed a condo that was vacant but still had all the electricity and stuff on.
Okay.
He just needed some help doing the remodeling for the new tenant that's going to be in next week. So I had an in between before I found the waiting tables job. I was just staying here and working on, that's where I am right now. Just working on the stuff he needed done here.
That's great. So you have a ton of skills.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Before I came up here, my main thing was stage production. So I've worked on a Taylor Swift show, a Rolling Stone show, Circus Olay. The company I work for does a lot of corporate stuff. So like I did an Intel computer job right before I came here, as well as the National Republican.
I feel like I remember seeing you post about that.
Committee, something like that, like that Trump was coming to talk at, Southwest Airlines, so that's a really cool job, because especially when I get to do like music shows, to see like what all goes in to making a major concert happen.
Right. And then on the Stagecraft side, are you doing video or set design or light design?
I'm doing just like getting all of this stuff off and on the trucks. And then I'll either be on lighting. So I'm hanging all of the truss, like building the truss and attaching the lights. Sometimes I'll work in video. So I'll be the big video screens,
right?
To have like that big picture on there, that's made up of like lots of smaller screens that you have to attach to each other. That makes sense. And then building the stage itself.
Wow.
That kind of thing. So I'm not like designing or anything like that. Like I'm just a hired gun to just grunt work, to get it done.
I used to do like corporate audio stuff similar to that. And it definitely felt a little bit like grunt work. I was never an A1. I was never front of house or anything. But yeah, just like showing up with a big truck and loading in a giant sound system and hanging it or setting it up, and then loading it out at 3 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the money's good, especially if you've got one that goes past midnight. You start working on time and a half. And,
exactly.
It's just not consistent work.
Right.
So I'm the type of person who will typically have anywhere from like 3 to 6 little things going on.
Yep.
So that I don't have to have one thing that I'm locked into all the time. So that gives me flexibility of my schedule, so that like if I want to go on a tour, or if I want to take this Saturday off for a gig, like I can totally do that.
I mean, there's a long history of musicians with that. What comes to mind is Woody Guthrie, and the whole history of sort of going sort of from town to town, finding odd jobs and playing music, maybe writing songs, like working in a mining camp and a lumber camp and just here and there. And and I feel like, especially since you're in Alaska, there's this sort of like frontierness to it. There's this.
Well, what I'm finding out, that trying to play here is actually kind of difficult. Like I thought. So I'm on the Kodiak, which is an island. So it's a small town. I think there's really only like 5,000 or 8,000 people that live here, like in the town of Kodiak. The town of the whole island, I think, is maybe like 13,000, but the town of Kodiak, which is like the only real like town as far as I know, other than like little villages. I think that's only like 5 to 8. And so I thought it would be like super easy to come in here and play tunes, but they've got a lot of weird laws. So
Oh, interesting.
breweries are not allowed to have entertainment at all.
They can't
Like,
be too
so
fun.
there's
Yeah. Okay.
nothing, and then
Okay.
restaurants, yeah. So restaurants that sell alcohol aren't
Uh-huh.
allowed to have like
Whoa.
music until after 9 p.m. and no one under 21's allowed.
Right. Whoa.
And so the only place to really play are bars,
Uh-huh.
which are not my favorite place to play. I'll
Sure.
play them like as a means to an end. So like if I'm on a tour,
Uh-huh.
I'll book whatever I can book and I don't care. And I'll
Right.
just take it as like whoever's paying attention is meant for it. Whoever's here is meant for it. It's
Yeah.
fine. Like this is just getting me down the road to where I want to be, where I have some gigs that I like,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
But to just be like taking bar gigs just for the sake of a gig, I'd rather just not, you know?
Yeah.
And I have the freedom to do that because I make my money in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the freedom to like if I don't resonate with the venue,
Sure.
I don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So yeah, like it's been kind of difficult to find places to play here. Also,
Sure.
there's like a logistical thing. Like I said, the first job I was going to have access to a car, and then I lost that job, so I don't have access to a car now. So it's kind of
Oh,
difficult to
wow.
say like, yeah, I'll play in 3 weeks. Like I don't know where I'm going to be in 3 weeks. Like I don't even know if I'm going to still be on the island. Like I'm really just one day
That's
at a
tough.
time.
Yeah.
So that's why it's just kind of a little more difficult to play here than I thought it would be.
Interesting. So do you see yourself there for a while still, or are you just kind of playing it by
No,
ear? Okay.
no. At the very latest, I'd be here to the end of September. So my job
Okay.
is a restaurant that is only open during the summer, and they close September
Oh, wow.
25th is the last day. And so they, they just have the money to leave it open. I mean, leave it. They rent cabins and stuff too, and so that's year
I see.
round. But the restaurant itself is only during the summer.
Hmm.
And I run the green room hospitality for the Utopia Fest that happens
cool.
in Burnett, Texas.
Nice.
And that's the second weekend of October, so I'm definitely back by then.
Cool. That's great. But how are you
Yeah.
getting back if you don't have a car?
Well, I mean, I didn't drive here; I flew here.
Oh, okay. Because you had that
But
sweet bus at one point.
yeah, I still have the bus. So I
Okay.
left the bus in Texas.
Okay.
Because gas is really expensive
Yes.
and I had a place to stay here, so like I didn't need the bus.
I see.
But then I lost the thing, so it was like, man, I wish I had the bus, and it's just hindsight. But I still have the bus, and that was one reason that Alaska was really appealing because it's hot in Texas, and this year it decided to be really hot.
It is hot. Oh, it's hot.
So I got out on a good year. This is my second time to Alaska. I came to work in 2016 at a Boy Scout
Nice.
camp,
Okay.
and on the mainland. And then I just hitchhiked around for like 3 to 5 weeks while I was waiting for Salmon Fest, which is a sweet little fest they have up here.
Okay.
That's next weekend that I'll be going to.
Nice.
Not playing, but going to.
If I have any Alaska listeners, they should go and hear Mary Brett at Salmon Fest because I'm gonna try and get this out on Thursday. So.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Just
Well,
in time.
I'll definitely be playing in the campgrounds.
Okay.
They do an open call to apply to play, but when I found out I was coming here, it was 2 weeks or a week after the deadline ended. So
Yep. Yeah.
that's just how it goes.
That thing was.
I even reached out, I was like, "Hey, can you make an exception?" And they're like, "No." But you never know, you just have to ask.
Yep.
All they can do is tell you no.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole hustle of getting gigs. It's just like you just ask and ask and ask, and usually it's ignore, and sometimes it's a no, and sometimes it's a yes. Yeah. So, what about your the creative side of it? So, like what I was saying is, it kind of get like a Woody Guthrie vibe almost, and it's interesting that you mentioned that you sort of don't want to be tied to having to sort of sing for your supper, so to speak. Right? You don't want to have to take gigs you don't want to take just for the money. And so you do these other jobs, but these other jobs have flexibility, sort of like odd jobs or, whatever makes sense at the moment that has that flexibility. Do you feel like that comes into your creativity or affects your creative process?
Well, I write a lot off of personal experience. I
Right.
don't write a lot out of like make believe.
Uh-huh.
So every new experience is a new download of something,
Right.
which will find its way into my music usually in some form or fashion.
Hmm.
Either it's because it's some character that came into the job that I was in and that inspired something, or like right now while I've been up here, I've written a couple songs about being in Alaska and it not working out and,
Uh-huh.
just kind of some silly stuff like that. And
Nice.
I wouldn't have written that if I weren't here,
Right. Right. Of course.
so like each job, each new thing, it's just a new maybe like a new color, a new shade
Hmm.
to look at the life from,
Right.
like working on the Taylor Swift job. Like I don't think I wrote anything about that, but it's definitely an eye-opening thing about like how big do I want to be?
That's a great
What do I
question.
want? What do I want out of this? And like, do I want this kind of a show? Do I want this kind of production? Do
Uh-huh.
I want my production to involve 60 plus semi trucks filled with stuff and a staff of like 300 people to
Yeah.
put the show together
Yep.
in each
Yep.
location?
Mhm.
Like, is that what I want? I mean, it's giving people jobs and that's neat and stuff, but like, that's a lot of responsibility, you
Yeah.
know? Um, that I don't know that I want all of that. I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't want all of that.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so being open to putting myself in a position like that
Mhm.
allows me to kind of backdoor see
Absolutely.
what would it be like if I reached for that rung of the
Hmm.
ladder and what all does that come with?
Absolutely. That was a question that I wrote down as you were talking before about the vision for your music, because I often struggle with where I see my music as functioning in society, where it exists. So like Taylor Swift is like the corporate of corporate or something like that, and that isn't even to put her down. It's like you're
It just
saying,
is what it is.
right. It gives lots of people lots of jobs. It gives lots of people things to listen to. It gives a place for people to spend $300 on a festival. It's great, and take Molly and have a great time. It's awesome. There's no putting her down at that at all.
I didn't
Uh,
know Taylor Swift fans were Molly.
I don't know. I just imagine she plays at like Coachella and Bonnaroo and stuff.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe they're not. I don't know. Anyway, and
I at
then
least would look the older ones, not the like
right,
teenage.
right. Yes, yeah,
I
yeah.
hope
Don't do
so.
Molly if you're a teenager. Don't do it. But and then all the way down to like an open mic also serves a function, and it serves a place for amateur musicians to try things, and for young people who are trying to become more professional to sort of hone certain skills before taking a next step. And so all of these types of music sort of exist in different places in society. Where do you see your music existing maybe now, and then where do you want it to be?
I think now it really only exists for the people who are like in my periphery, like in my close, just like
Hmm.
immediate
Right, right.
contact.
Yep.
Either be
Same
it
for me.
like
Yeah.
somebody that I just met, and then they're willing to scope out what I'm doing, or, people who are the closest to me who, or just want to support what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's whatever I'm doing.
Mhm.
Um, I feel that like I think that I could do whatever I wanted to do with it. Like I
Okay.
think I have what I need in order to do whatever I want to do with it. And it's really just, yeah, honing in what is that and what does that look like and
Hmm.
how much of my calendar year do I want it to take and how much
Sure.
of do I want it to dictate where I'm living,
Right.
or anything like that. And I'm still kind of manufacturing my smallness. and trying to work out of that,
That's interesting. Okay.
and I don't really like being the center of attention. Like, I don't really like that.
Right.
So I have to work past that every time I go up there, and
That's
it doesn't make sense to a lot of people because I am really extroverted and bubbly or whatever. But like, there's a flip side to that is just as equally introverted and kind of like private, even though I am really open and transparent about how I think and feel and everything. Like, there's still a lot of like stuff I kind of hold tight. And so there's a blockage there, totally, to get to the next step, whatever that next step is. Like, it really just requires me letting go of being worried about breaking out of the mold that everybody sees me in or that I see myself in.
I see.
So there's like a lot of personal stuff, like still working through to try to figure out even what that next rung is that I want and where to go with it. Because there's like, where do I want as Mary Brett, the person, what do I want out of my life? And then there's, what do I want out of this thing I'm really passionate about and that I've been blessed with some skill sets for, and like, where do those two things come together? Where are they completely different?
Yeah.
And how to, just how to navigate that. And I'm still figuring that out. Like 12, 15 years into doing this and being 36, I'm still trying to figure out, like, what do I want?
It's really hard. It's a hard question.
Yeah.
It's interesting
especially if we go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's interesting as a songwriter, though. Oh, no. Okay. All right. So it's interesting as a songwriter because, especially if you're writing your personal experiences, and essentially you are projecting yourself out there. And so it's interesting that the desire cuts both ways of being sort of private and wanting to keep that something either for yourself or for your close personal contacts or something like that. But then getting up on a stage, like you're saying, there's something uncomfortable about it because you don't actually know how much you want to project out. But then you're talking about not writing fantasy so much. And like, I remember some of your songs, like you had a song about period sex and things like that. Like very, like personal thoughts and feelings and interactions with the world. And to project that out there is very vulnerable. And it's also very, I don't know, you're putting yourself on display in a sense. But it felt strong to me when you did it. It felt like a very strong move. And I was impressed by it. I was like, oh, that's cool. She's a strong performer. She's asserting herself as an individual. I loved it.
Yeah, and that's just kind of like how I am. I'll assert myself, but then there's always still this little like, voice in the back that's saying like, oh, that's too much, or, like nobody really, I mean, is it okay that you did that? Or, just, okay. I think all creators struggle with that no matter what you're creating. Like, is it okay for me to put myself out there and take up people's attention? And that's what's happening. Like, when you're putting yourself out there, you're asking other people to hand over their attention. And their attention, whether they realize it or not, is the most valuable thing they possess.
Yes.
And I think that subconsciously as creators, we feel self-conscious about that because somewhere we do understand that attention is the most valuable resource. Right. And we're asking you to spend it on us. Yes. And that can feel heavy sometimes, even if we understand the mechanism behind it or not. The feeling is still there. And so, I'm really... And the more I get into understanding that mechanism, the more I'm really careful, I guess, about how I'm sharing and where I'm sharing and what I'm sharing and why I'm sharing. Because I'm a big believer in it doesn't really matter what we think, say, feel, or do. It matters why we do it. And so if my why for music was just so that I could afford to pay some stupid company to keep my lights on, or to pay for mac and cheese or something like that. Like if that was my why behind playing music, it would totally change the connection I have with what I'm creating with, I feel.
Sure, sure, sure.
Where my creation comes from, And so I really just try to make sure that my why is solid in whenever I'm taking a gig or doing anything, really.
That's great. I love it. So what is your why?
What's my what?
What's your why? Why do you
because I think it's my mission. Like I think it's my purpose. I think it's my mission. I was given these talent, skills, and abilities and passions and desires, and they're all rooted in the same thing of music, and if we want to get, spiritual and heady about it, music and dance are two of the most primitive things that humans share throughout time and space. And everything is frequency. Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think of it in terms of energy and frequency.
Okay.
So music is a manipulation of frequency, of what we are. We are everything has a vibration.
Right.
And so when we are making music out of ourselves or with our instruments, we are manipulating the vibration, and we can do a lot of good work. And so I feel like part of my mission, part of why I am here with the voice that I have, and with the connection, the channeling connection of what I'm creating with, how kind of effortlessly it comes, and how much it fulfills me. It's my purpose,
right. Sure.
So that's my why, is just trying to get closer to understanding that it's my purpose, and then to have the courage to do my purpose, to do my work, to do my mission, come hell or high water, and whatever that looks like, if it means that I'm doing this for the way that I'm doing it for the next 20, 30 years, then I guess that's what it's going to be. If it means that I stumble upon like a little bit of success that allows me to not have to do like the gig economy hustle, and like the gigs I'm being offered and the gigs that I reach out for are all within my desired like type of listening room space, then that's how it'll be.
Yeah.
It's, I just know that this is what I have to do. Like it doesn't even really feel like an option. And I've tried other things. I mean, I've had over 50 different types of jobs. Wow. Like that's not saying, I've worked for I've worked for several different restaurants, but like the serving is one job, and like being a cook is one job. And I don't count every employer. I count every type of job. And I've had like 50. And I went to grad school. I would have a history degree, and then I went to grad school, and, I abandoned my degree. I finished all my coursework.
That's courage.
I had a 4.0.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it.
I was like the president of the honor society. I had a 4.0. I had finished my comprehensive finals, everything. All I had to do was finish 30 more pages on my thesis. That was it. I just needed about 30 more pages on my thesis. And I kind of like got to a point where it was like, you know what? If I have this piece of paper, I'm going to try to use this piece of paper. And I don't want to. I don't want to be in the academe world where I have to write, where my abilities to write have to be pigeonholed into writing the way that the history world writes.
I see.
You're not allowed to have any kind of flower, any kind of fun in it, in the academe world. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want that. And I didn't want to constantly be feeling like I'm not smart enough to be around these people, just imposter syndrome mentally instead of imposter syndrome. Cause I have that with music too, but not as much, because just not as much as with the academe world.
Right.
And I you know, I quit, and I didn't want to be a part of the system of like everyone thinks they have to go to college and then they end up with,
Right.
30 to 60 plus men in debt. And then so
Yep.
they just get a job that's not even in their degree just because they have to start paying off this debt. And now they're on this treadmill following a carrot that they're never going to get.
Yep.
And, I'm just a cog in the wheel. I'm just a
Yep.
part of the problem if I am to go in there and do that.
Yep.
And so I just said, you know what? I'm not going to finish this. I'm not going to do it. And it took me 6 years to really get to that. Like I was always thinking that I would finish it. I just needed a break.
Right.
And there was a couple times I went back to like getting back into my research and writing out some pages and just to finish it, because I don't like having this project I started and I didn't finish. And the practicality of it was Essence magazine and how it affected Black women's involvement in the women's rights movement.
Wow.
Because
that
Essence
sounds like
magazine,
a graduate thesis. That's
it was the first lifestyle magazine really for Black women.
Okay.
And it was co-opted. It was created by men to, make a buck. Sure. And its beginnings were very, the women's movement is not for you. Specifically telling them that. Black women faced an interesting part because the civil rights movement wanted them to be on their side. Right. And the women's rights movement came from the civil rights movement because all these women were doing this stuff and they weren't getting credit for it, and they were being relegated to like office work and, no one would listen to them unless they were currently sleeping with one of the head guys at the time, sort of deal. Wow. So that's kind of the impetus of starting the women's rights movement. And they branched off. And the civil rights movement was like, Black women, you need to stay with us. And so they called it being doubly bound. Black women were doubly bound to decide if they were first a woman or first Black and which team are they supposed to fight for.
I see. I could also
and
see
so
then the roots of where intersectionality comes in later from this, right? Like as a fight back against this sort of.
Yeah. I mean, and even in the women's rights movement, there was fracturing. Like there was no cohesive movement whatsoever. And there still isn't, because just because we're women doesn't mean that we see it all the same way. So we might all really want some equality and some equity, but we have totally different ideas about what that means based off of who we are.
Sure.
And so, that's what it was about.
That's great. So you're an academic too, at least a little bit.
Yeah. And so when I was done with all my graduate stuff, and I still thought I was going to go get back, but I needed a job because I was a TA. So I got to see, which is a teacher's assistant, if anyone doesn't know. And so I got to see behind the scenes of what it's like working for a university. Right. And there's just a lot of pressure, publish or perish. Like if you're not publishing enough, like you'll lose your job, and you are finding a job can be difficult, and you could end up in a town that you don't care anything about, but that's the only town you could get a job at. And I didn't want my job to dictate where I lived.
Yes. Yep.
And
it really does with those academic jobs. Yep.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, like some of the professors that were teaching at my university, I'm in a small university in Huntsville, Texas, and these are people that came from Stanford and Baylor and Harvard and all of this, and they did not want to be in Huntsville, Texas, but they make the most of it. They can, but I didn't want that. And my mom was a primary school teacher, a special ed teacher. So I knew I never wanted to be a K through 12 teacher because I already knew that world would be totally more BS than I wanted to deal with. Right. And as somebody that wanted to teach history, I was really like, my hands were tied. We have to you have to teach for a test. There's so much history that is not approved, to talk about or whatever. And sometimes we have to teach the wrong history to then teach the right history, like Columbus or something, teach kids one thing. And then like 8 years down the line, we teach them more about the real story. Yeah. And that just seemed really like dumb to me. Like, why would we even do that? Why would we tell you one thing to then
Yeah.
just tell you another thing that goes completely in the opposite of it, you know? So I knew I didn't want that. So I thought I wanted to be a professor, but then I tried that and it was like, I don't want that.
Mhm.
But then, so I needed a job,
Right.
and I got a job as an outdoor educator for fifth graders. So Houston ISD would bus these kids out to the place I worked at, and they would stay for a week in cabins, and we would teach them about nature and stuff.
Mm.
And I did that job, and I was really good at it. And but the only time I could play my guitar was during the week, singing my cabin of girls to sleep. And
Nice.
so, yeah. And the second year of work, it was probably like the third week,
Mhm.
and this girl in my cabin, we were walking back from lunch to go to nap time.
Mhm.
I had a job that gave me a nap time after it fed me corn dogs, and I love corn dogs and I
All right.
love naps. And so it was like, and you know, I'm outside all day. It was great. But this little girl's holding my hand and she said, Miss Mary, if you can sing like that, why do you work here?
Oh.
And I said, without even really thinking, it just flew out of my mouth. Well, because it's not always practical and it doesn't pay the bills. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds more like my mother than me,
I was
you
gonna say,
know?
if you ever sounded like an adult, though.
Right. And she told me, she said, oh, well, I want to be a singer. And I
Mhm.
said, oh, well, then you totally should. I mean, she's 10 years old. What you
Right.
want to be is just so easy. You just have a dream and it can happen and it's
Uh-huh.
so easy. And then so I said, well, you totally should. And inside my head, I'm like, you freaking hypocrite. Like, what example are you showing to this little girl?
Wow.
You are passing on this fear. You are
Right.
passing on this
Mhm.
manufacturing of smallness. You are just passing on partly like your mother's fears that are wrapped up in her stuff, you
Right,
know, which is
right, right.
wrapped up in her mother's stuff and
Absolutely.
her mother's stuff. And, you know, and it's just
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh. Well, the next week, like we get a new batch of kids every week. So that girl was gone, you
Mhm.
know, but I go back to work the next week and my body shut down on me. I got a migraine. I've never had a migraine in my entire life. And I
Wow.
quit. I quit that
Uh-huh.
week. I didn't even give him 2 weeks. I went into the principal's office and I was just like, look, I'm really sorry, but I have to go and I have to
Mhm.
go now. Like, you don't want me to stay because my energy is strong and we work together, we eat together, we share housing together. Like, it's a small crew. I will piss in the pool, even though I'm trying to hold it,
Uh-huh.
you know, and I don't want to piss in your
Yep.
pool.
Yep.
It's the beginning of the year. Like, I know I'm leaving you in a tight spot, but this is actually better for everybody because if I don't do it now, I
Yep.
might not do it. Like, I
That's
might
great.
talk myself out of it. So that was about 10 years ago that I did that. And so
Mhm.
for 10 years now, I've just been 10 or 12, I've just been
Uh-huh.
like, okay, so what does it mean? What does it look like? How do we figure this out?
Yep.
Like, we know we don't want money to be our music to be the only way we make money. So how are we going to make money? Like, what are we going to
Right.
do?
Mhm.
And what kind of music do we want to make? And
Uh-huh.
who do we want to make it with? And where do we want to share it? And how do we do that? And there's
Uh-huh.
times where I didn't have a home for 4 years. I didn't have a car, you know? So it was just like, how do we just do this?
That's
You know?
wild. That's amazing.
So I've
That's an amazing story.
just been on an adventure, you
That's
know, adventure finding more of my own truth, more
uh-huh.
of what my own priorities are, you know, and more of what my purpose is here.
Uh-huh.
And as I've personally gone deeper into my spirituality, and had experiences through plant medicine and such, that I've this is my purpose. I've gotten the confirmation from every front you could ever ask
Mhm.
for, you know,
Mhm.
like people, situations, and then dropping into like altered states of consciousness and still
Sure.
getting the same message. You
Mhm.
know, everything, all signs point to this is what you're supposed to do, you know?
Right, right.
So just keep doing it. And I like to call it radical faith. Like, I don't think just faith is enough.
Right.
And whatever you want to put it in, like, be
Yeah.
it just yourself, be it some higher power, be it
Uh-huh.
some organization or platform or whatever,
Mhm.
it's radical faith. Like,
Radical.
because it doesn't make sense most of the time. to us because we're co-creating with something, I believe, that's like, it's a different timeline. Like there is no, it's outside of the third dimension of space and time and it being linear. Like it's this whole other thing that we're working with. And so you have to have that radical faith that even though like I got fired 2 weeks after coming here, there's still something for me here, which did play out because I've gotten an opportunity to do 30-minute spots weekly on the radio station here. So while it's really hard for me to find a place to maybe play live, I still have an opportunity to share my stuff and I'm completely in control of it. Like they just leave me, they just drop me in the production studio and I just do it. I get time for about 6 songs and I talk a little bit in between. And for me, that's like a sweet spot because I'm really just trying to like get the message out, you know? I mean, I prefer to be live. Like that's the magic. So the magic is live because there's an energy exchange that's happening.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, absolutely.
And it doesn't really happen through just if you have it in your ears or if you even are like watching it on a video. Like it's not really happening through the screen. It happens through, or the speakers. It happens when we're in each other's fields.
Yes.
That's where the most work that's where the most healing can be done. And so like, you know, I want live to be a thing. That's my favorite way to share. But if I'm sharing it in a space like a bar where I'm just like a live jukebox, it's not as fulfilling to me. And I know that even in saying that, I know that I'm still getting through to people, even if they don't realize it or not, because it's subconsciously getting in there and we're run mostly by our subconscious anyway. And so, and the frequency is like making its way to them. So it's still doing something. And the people who are actually paying attention, you know, like it's for them, it's for you. I'm here right now sharing this for you, this one person in this bar who's maybe paying actual attention to what's going on right now. And like, keeping that in mind and letting that be enough to like keep going and just know that I did my work. I did my job. I showed up for what my mission was, which was to share this. And whoever is here was meant for it. Whoever is not here wasn't ready for it, you know, and just try to always keep that in mind when I'm feeling that like, why am I doing this? You know, why am I putting myself out here in this really uncomfortable situation for me? You know, so you got to find meaning behind it. And for me, that's it. That's the meaning, is that I'm helping. I'm helping people process their feelings and heal. We don't live in a society that really encourages us to explore our vulnerability, you know, and to explore the depths of our emotions and like why those emotions are there, you know, and a lot of my music is about just pure emotional stuff. You know, and I like to cut it with funny songs like the period sex song or, you know, messing up your eggs in the morning so I give you head instead, you know, like that. I've got songs like that because that's part of me too. Because I like to laugh.
It's all part of the thing. I mean, I don't think it's so different. The tone is a little different, maybe. But I think what I'm seeing is, I mean, especially like you said healing, and I kind of picked up on that. And then you were talking about the connection, you know, of vibration. I have I like to say music is magic, and I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and I'm being a little bit literal, in that I sort of see musicians as conjurers. Like, what you're doing is you're creating an illusion space where you can share that feelings and things with an audience. Because, like, music isn't real in an objective sense. It's created in our minds. We hear these sounds and we go, oh, that's music. And somebody else goes, oh, that's music. And then we're like, oh, that's awesome. And then we can dance together to it or something like that. And so like it's this weird like illusion space that we're sharing or something like that. Or
it's
like
a trance space.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I have been told that like my music can feel kind of trancy sometimes, like when I get into some of these like deep heartfelt stuff. And I play really simple. Like I'm not known for my guitar playing, I'm known for my singing. And I play well enough to keep up with myself, you know. And I've stagnated really for a really long time because I'm just I have a lot that comes out just with 7 chords and a capo. Like I can
Right.
just keep going and going and churning them out and keep going and going and going. So I don't really like,
Right.
there's not like a need to learn bar chords and
Ha 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 ha.
this and all the
Oh
hard
no.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I know I know that there's so much of a world for me there because my creative process works like in tandem. Like whatever sound I'm able to create on the guitar is totally going to affect the song that I'm writing.
Right.
So because I'm kind of just in the same spot, like I have a lot, it's all
yes,
kind of
yes.
similar, you know? And when I pick up a new instrument, like I can fiddle around a little bit with the banjo and the mandolin. And when I still am only playing G, C, D, A, I mean, same 7 chords or whatever, it's a totally different tone. So it creates a totally different song that I wouldn't have written if I were working with the guitar.
Right.
And so I know that if I got to like unlock the guitar, really, that would just totally be a whole new world for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is that I'm already over inundated with what I have created, that I just don't feel like I have the space to be creating like anything more. Although I'm always still writing. Like I'm always still writing within the thing that I have.
Right.
But it's like I don't have another space in my tool belt to grab another tool to put me in a different direction because I have all these tools already that I'm trying to figure out how do they work. Really, like how do I take care of them, how to, you know, like all of that kind of thing. So, you know, my trance state, flow state, I feel like it's really, you know, that's where my creativity comes from, you know, is just like I pick up the guitar, I'll fiddle around with some chords. And if I start kind of getting like a little bit of a melody in my head or something, or some words start to show up, I'll hit record on my phone and I just go. I'm just in pure flow state, pure stream of consciousness. I don't stop to like ask myself, was that a good line or anything like that? If I get kind of stuck and no words show up, I'll just keep playing the progression for a little bit until some more words come on. And then it all just kind of wraps itself up in a little bow. And it's just like, now it's done. Now we're done. You know, and like that's
you don't
the song.
edit a whole lot.
Not a lot. Like, I mean, I might, some of them I might have to go back and be like, well, I should have used this word instead of that word, or maybe I want to sing it, inflect it like that instead or something, but really not a lot of editing at all. So the songs that get shared with people I've written probably over like 500 or so in this span of time, the song, and I've probably only shared maybe like 100, you know?
I mean, that's a good ratio, 20%.
I guess, you know, but see, the thing is like I forget about them and then I'll go back and listen. So the ones that I end up sharing are the ones that I like as soon as I write them. It's like, I liked that song. It felt good. I liked it. It doesn't really need a lot of editing. I like this song. We're going to start learning and playing this song. And then the ones where it's like, yeah, that needs work, I just leave in the dust. But then sometimes I'll go back and listen to them and I'm like, well, what kind of work does that need? Like, that's actually fine. That's fine. That's a good song right there. So there's something to be said about getting some space from it and then coming back from new ears, new eyes to listen to it. But yeah, like that's how my process pretty much works, is to just be in flow state the whole time. And it's basically flowing off of what I'm going through at the moment. You know? Now, the only difference in my writing now is that post this, you know, spiritual journey that I've been on, my songwriting has completely changed into no longer being songs just about like unrequited love, but songs being about you are light and you are infinite. And, you know, it's about love and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And that's been a really great shift for me. Very welcomed, because I got a little tired of here's another failed love song, you know? And when we think about, you know, our attention coming back to that, like singing these songs over and over and over and over and over again, I'm making a mantra of the frequency of the message of the song. And every time I'm singing it, I'm breathing life into that. So every time I'm singing this tragic song about my heart breaking,
Right.
I'm just putting more of my attention and focus on making more of that happen for me,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
And so it's been really nice to get out of that and have some other songs to buffer that with, that make me feel powerful and hopefully make other people feel powerful as well.
Wonderful.
And I still like a good sad love song though, because I
Course.
think
Who
we do
doesn't?
really need to learn how to, process pain of loss of love and all of that.
Right.
But I know that the music I'm writing now is being given to me now because I'm more ready now to drop into my mission than I was before. I'm
Sure.
more ready now to allow myself to be seen more. I stopped drinking almost 2 years ago.
Oh,
And so
wow.
that's part of it too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So when I stopped drinking, when I got deeper on my spiritual journey, my songwriting shifted. And it's just been
Makes
a
sense.
really welcome shift for me. And I think
Wow.
for the people that listen to me a lot too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what I'm hearing in all of it is sort of like an honest expression of you and where you are. Because even the humor is important. And I actually think that there needs to be humor in music, and music gets really serious, really
Right.
fast. And it's
Yeah.
easy to be very serious with music.
Right.
And in a sense, music is silly.
It's play.
Exactly. It's play. We're playing. Exactly.
Music.
And so it's okay
play.
to be silly. And like my band, we do lots of silly things. We have a song called Eager Beaver that's about beavers, like literally about woodland creatures. It's great. And I love it. I love silliness and play and music and acknowledging that music is play, but then also that music can be like you're being personal, you're telling a personal story, but you're transcending yourself if you're connecting with other people. And so it's this weird, like the individual connecting in the group or something like that.
Well, yeah, because we are hardwired for connection,
Right.
and when you're sharing a creation and it's speaking to somebody, whether it be a song or a painting or a book or a movie or a beautiful meal, it's helping the other person see how they're a creator too. And we're all creators. Every day we're creating our reality with our thought, word, and deed.
Absolutely.
And so when somebody has made a tangible form, because we're in this 3D, so we want this tangible thing, here's this product, and it speaks to the other person, what that's doing is bringing alive in them the mechanism of being their own creator.
Right.
And so like, it's just really important for me to live my life in a genuine, authentic way, like even to a fault, like even when it like messes up a situation or something like that, like I'm still gonna, because I think that that's the point of being here. Like we all are one, it's all connected. We're all the same from this infinite thing, but we all have a unique individual spark, a unique individual perspective, a unique individual story and mission. But we forget that. And we live in a society that continuously wants us to forget that and to just stay asleep, to stay where we don't remember. So I feel like part of my mission is to remind people, that like, this is your life. And it's your only one in this meat suit, this incarnation with this consciousness. So live it the way you want to live it, whatever that looks like. So if I can go up there and inspire somebody to do whatever it is that they wanted to do, maybe they didn't want to be a musician. Maybe they wanted to, I don't know, be a rodeo circus clown. And they just really wanted to do that. Like, I'm trying to set an example of what it looks like to go after what it is that you want. Even when you don't fully know what it is you want, but you know that it's in this wheelhouse. Like it has to do with this, whatever brings us alive, like that is what your mission is. And that is what you are meant to investigate. And it might end you off somewhere completely different, but you need to get on that path and start walking towards it and
you have to go.
Yes,
absolutely.
But we stop ourselves because, it's not always practical and it doesn't pay the bills, or people judge me or I might fail or whatever, And so just really just trying to be a living example of
Yeah.
what it looks like to go after your dreams. And
It's
it's
like,
messy sometimes.
Mhm.
Like most of the time, it's really messy.
Right.
And that's why the radical faith is really necessary, to just get really deep into the why of what's really the thing behind the desire,
I see.
and then that allows you to have the strength for when it's difficult, because it's
Interesting.
difficult to go out on the limb and live an authentic, genuine life of your own desires and not somebody else's. Like that's always going to be a difficult path, but it's going to be rewarding because you're working towards what you want.
Yep. I love it. I love it. I mean, to me, this is like Ayn Rand meets Hinduism meets like Christianity or something. It's crazy. It's like,
Well, they all have it right and they all have it wrong.
yeah.
And
I love it.
Karl Marx, he said that, religion's the opiate to control the masses.
Right.
And how is that so? Because religion answers the questions that we all have, no matter time, space,
Right.
location, whatever. Why are we here?
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do while we're here? What happens when we die?
Mm-hmm.
And religion answers those questions. And the way that our human brain works is we want to get to the solution as quickly as possible.
Right.
And so if you tell me that and I just have to follow these rules and then I can get that, then okay, cool. I'll just do that.
Uh-huh.
And so they all have it right and they all have it wrong because,
Right.
all of them say they're the only right one. But if God is infinite and created everything, then he must have created all of the different religions to meet the needs of the people in those places. I don't consider myself a religious person. I consider myself a spiritual person.
Right.
I think that this connection with whatever the divine is and what you want to call it with human words, like, it's just a special connection that we have and that we all have, whether or not we're willing to investigate it or acknowledge it or whatever. Like it's there. It's there by default, and whatever you're believing in, as long as it's allowing you to feel connected and strong and purposeful, then that's it. That's all it needs to be. Like, and if that's a set religion for you, but it doesn't allow you, but you don't like hold hate or fear, judgment, whatever in your heart for people that believe different, then rock it, go for it. If it's allowing you to feel connected to something bigger and powerful, then that's a good relationship.
I love it. I have all these questions, but I feel like we're at this spot and all the questions bring it down back into the muck. We're in this like beautiful high spot of like philosophy. It's wonderful.
Yeah, but the muck is what makes the beauty. So the lotus flower grows out of mud.
Right.
And like everyone that's gotten to the top of something had a really dark journey at some point to get there.
Right.
Being in the arena, is messy work. So it's all fair game.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, yeah, I agree. I would love to hear some music. If you have anything that you'd like to play.
Yeah.
Cool. So sometimes the way I do it is I do a totally free improv. I think we're lagging a little bit, but you should come back in a second.
Okay. Meaning like you want me to make a song up on the spot?
No. Oh, the free improv thing.
Am I coming back?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Moving
I can't
stuff
see you.
Around. Are we good?
I think so. All right, there you go. So you don't have to make up a song on the spot. The free improv that I do is like I play with somebody and we just play whatever comes out. And it could be just noises, it could be song, it could be whatever. And the great thing about Zoom is you can't actually be rhythmically in time at all. And so it's just completely wild. Now, not everybody does that and not everybody's used to that. And the other thing is I would actually love to hear some of your music if you'd like to play a song or two.
Yeah, let's do that because I know that my signal isn't like the greatest.
Yeah.
And so we might just be in like a total cacophony. Like,
I mean, that's great. I love
not
that.
Worth it, but so yeah, let me play.
Okay.
We'll play it. So I did get to play a show this past Sunday at the place I work, after brunch, they let me play some tunes for some people.
Nice.
And I was and then the G string busted.
Oh no.
So, and I'm on an island that doesn't have a music store
At all?
So this was Sunday, and it was like, oh my gosh, I have this interview, and then I have to record for my radio spot. Like, I know that I know that I need strings. So I went on Facebook, the same place that I went to find a replacement place to stay while here. And this gal had a pack of strings that she dropped off for me. So yeah, this is just one of the newer tunes that has come out from my journeying with plant medicine and just dropping deeper into my spirituality and my purpose.
Wonderful.
Can you hear that okay?
Yeah.
Living life is glass. One small fall and we'll crack, and we can stay together like that. Once one now broken into halves. Sometimes we stay like that. From tip to tip we're cracked, and we don't know what to do with that. So we do this instead of that. Yeah, we do lots of this and not that. We make lots of excuses. We know we're not doing our best. Yeah, we know we're not our best. Sometimes someone comes around, helps us drop our load to the ground. Sometimes someone comes around and picks us up like a jewel they found. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes we find our gold on the inside. When you look in the mirror, well, what do you see? Do you see someone that is enough? Or do you see someone who lacks some stuff? Oh, I wish you saw you were everything. I wish you could see you are everything. I wish you knew you are everything. You are me, and you are everyone who's ever been, good or bad. You are everything you can think up in your head. You are everything. You're infinity, living in a material world. You're infinity, under skin. You're infinity, in a finite dream. We're in a finite dream. And one day we'll wake up to see that we got all we need, yeah. One day we'll wake up to see that we're not lacking a thing. No, we're not Just be the change. Be the change you wish to see. 'Cause they can't be what they can't see. So be the change. Be the change. And be. Just be.
Wow. Wonderful. That was lovely. Thank you for singing that.
I mean, like, it is that cliche, you know, be the change you wish to see.
Right.
But that is really like all that it is.
Uh-huh.
The way humans learn, we learn from being modeled to. So the line in they can't be what they can't see. So if we want to be living in a different world, we want to wake up and we see people around us be more authentic and genuine and kind and caring and compassionate and empathetic. And we want to just wake up and that happen. It's not going to. Like, we have to be that. And then the people around us will jump on board because they're being shown a new way. You know, and when we have the courage to like break out and do that thing, it's contagious, you know, because we didn't come here to just like get jobs and pay bills and get a mortgage and, you know, search for golden years to go do what we really want to do. And then maybe not even get to do them because we don't have, our knees don't work and our hips don't work at that point. And, you know, it's just like, that's not why we're here. You know, so we have to be willing to have the courage to get out of that easy, comfortable thing. The comfortability is the trap. You know, we don't grow when we're comfortable. We grow when we're uncomfortable. And so that's why I continue to make myself uncomfortable by going in front of people and playing, because I know that that's where I have the most room to grow as an individual. And I have the most capability to help others grow. Because I'm showing them what it looks like to just put yourself out there. And for me, it's with a guitar singing songs. For other people, it will be something completely different. But I've at least modeled to them that it's possible and worthwhile, because life is hard. So you just have to choose your hard. It's going to be hard either way. So just choose your hard, you know, and I choose my hard to be wrapped up in whatever it takes to allow me to have the space and time and resources and all of the things to still keep this channel open and creating songs and like sharing them with people. You know,
that's great. So the muck thing that I thought about earlier, because you're talking about sort of the courage to pursue the life that you want to see and to pursue sort of your own truth, and then you could say like pursue your dreams or whatever, like the story you were talking about at the camp. There's the Mike Rowe, the Dirty Jobs guy. He's got his whole thing about how pursuing your dreams is bad, and he's against that entire ideology, because sometimes you just got to get a job and you just got to support yourself and support your family. And it's funny because there's sort of a truth in it, and there's like the hard truth of taking responsibility for your life and yourself and those who rely on you. And I think that there is a lot of truth in that. But at the same time, there's this weird nihilism to it in a certain way, that your entire existence is just to be some kind of laborer for the system of society or something like that.
Right. I mean, there's definitely a way to pursue your dream and it be destructive to you and to people around you. I mean, you need to pursue your dream with awareness, you know, like that's what I would say. Have awareness as to why is this your dream? Why are you going about it this way to get it? You know, it all is just the why, you know, but if you're pursuing your dream at the cost of whoever's feeding you and putting clothes on your back and a roof over your head and like, I mean, that's not fair, you know? And so that's just selfish. you know, to a certain extent. If
Yes.
if pursuing your dreams is stopping somebody else from doing theirs because they have to pick up your slack because you
Hmm.
don't want to go and get 6 different jobs. You just want to be able to play your guitar whenever you want to play your
Yeah.
guitar and
Hmm.
somebody else can pick up the slack and feed you. Well, that's one thing, you know, and
Right.
like that's going to have one certain outcome in what you're producing
Hmm.
and what you're getting back in return, you know. But if you're pursuing your dreams on your own terms at your own dime,
Hmm.
you know, at your own sacrifices, you
Right.
know,
Hmm.
uh that's worthy, I
Yep.
think. You know, I think that that's a worthy pursuit, you know. So yeah, like I will have 6 jobs over one job
Right.
because that gives me the freedom to do my dream. You know, the
Yes.
6 jobs isn't my dream, but it is right now because that's what it allows it to happen.
Right.
You know, so it's part of the dream. It's just the part that I didn't create in this co-creation.
Mm.
You know,
I
it's a
see.
gift that I have the ability to do so many different types of
Hmm.
jobs, you know?
Absolutely.
And
Hmm.
so that was the co-creator being like, well, here's talent, skills, and abilities.
Yep.
Okay. And you could put all of that into one basket, but you understand how that makes you vulnerable to our connection here,
Hmm.
you know? So, or you could get one job and let your soul be sucked out, and that sullies our connection here,
Right.
you know. Or you can just accept that you've been given talent, skills, and abilities that can manifest into different types of jobs, you
Hmm.
know, and just do the hustle, you know.
Right.
So that's what I
Yeah.
do. I don't always want to be doing that though, you know, like I don't
Yep.
want to be 50 having 6 jobs because a lot of the jobs are labor intensive jobs that I
Yep.
do. So there is this part of me that knows that I'll be fine no matter what, you know, but
Right.
then there's the part of me that's like, we've got to figure this out for our future self,
Hmm.
you know. And stop drinking was part of that journey, you
Right.
know, just trying to figure out, like, I'm just on a loop, you know, I'm just like
Yep.
going through the motions,
Uh-huh.
you know, I'm ready for the next thing. Like,
Hmm.
how do I get to that next thing?
Yep.
And I needed the clarity for that. I really only meant to not drink for 2 months, and I just kept liking
Kept
what I
going.
was finding, including how music was changing for me and stuff. And so
Wonderful.
I've just kept with it. And
Cool.
you know, I just think it's important to allow ourselves to grow no matter where that takes us, even if it takes us in a place we never saw ourselves going. Like, as a musician, to say that you're not going to drink is a big thing because it's
Right.
inundated in our
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
world,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
you
It's true.
know?
Although I
And
do
we
know a
even
lot of
attach our
musicians who don't
creative
drink.
process to it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a newer trend.
Yeah.
You know, it's happening,
Yep.
and they're out there, but it's just definitely, you know, it's a smaller pool
Yes.
of 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 people.
Hmm.
And but for me, I know that it has only helped this musical journey, and
Right.
is actually helping me get closer to where I really need and want to be than the booze ever was, you know.
Right.
And even including in my writing in and of itself, because
Mm.
sometimes I would say that, like, yeah, like being a little under the influence, like that's what I need to open up the channel or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I realize that, like, I didn't need that, and
Right.
I
Hmm.
don't need that.
Right.
And if anything, the channel just got like wider because now we're talking about more things instead of just what my like booze
Mm.
infused
That's
ego needs to
interesting.
constantly be processing and making mantras off of my failures. You know, we're making mantras off of success, you know,
Yeah.
off of
Wow.
lighter
Hmm.
light, you
Cool.
know. So
That's beautiful. I love
yeah.
it. So what? So you have Salmon Fest coming up. What else do you have coming up? Is there anywhere to direct folks?
Well, if you want to catch these Wednesday spots on KMXT, it's in Alaska time, so it's 12:30 to 1 Alaska time, which makes it 3 hours behind Central time. So it'd
Okay.
be 3:30 to 1, 3:30 to 4 in the Central time zone. Now, I
Cool.
don't think their website has a place where you can listen to it, but there's this really cool website called radio.garden, and it's got radio stations from all over the world real time. It's just a globe with little
I
shining
know. I was
lights.
checking it out because you post it. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's super cool. You want to talk about being connected to the collective, you know, like you can just drop in to Zimbabwe and be like,
Yeah.
what are you guys into?
Yeah.
And it's really cool to hear what people are into, that there are stations like in Norway, there's this really nice like Americana station,
Mm.
and just places that you would maybe not expected there to be platforms for what you do, and they're there. So if you go to radio.garden and you hover the circle over the Kodiak Island, KMXT 1001,
Nice.
and you can hear it there. And they're letting me do it every Wednesday. I'm actually have some interviews lined up with some of the Salmon Fest artists.
Oh,
and
great.
so I want to air that on the show.
Wonderful.
So I play mostly originals. A couple weeks ago I did just covers to just mix it up. And I want to do those interviews, and then also some interviews of some local talent, some local people. Like the girl who gave me my strings, like she plays, but she doesn't like play out, but she was interested. She sounded interested enough to like do a little interview. I just think that would be fun.
That's wonderful. Nice.
So that's where you can catch me right now. And then when I get back to Texas at the end of September, I'll be putting a little tour together on my way out to Utopia Fest. And then after Utopia Fest, I'll be going to Terlingua.
Okay.
To spend most of the fall/winter.
Nice.
And I'll be booking gigs along the way there and in the town of Terlingua and stuff while I'm there.
Amazing. Cool.
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and so you can look at there.
Sounds good. I'll put links to anything that there are links for.
I'm really behind in the game of like the content creating game, like my
that's back in the muck.
YouTube page is terrible. I don't post all the time on Instagram or Facebook. Like I'm not active in it. I mean, it's there. I use it when there's something happening, but I don't like keep it going. And I definitely don't make a lot of videos to put on the YouTube because I don't really like being the center of attention. Is like way beyond my comfort zone. But there's a friend here, the guy who I'm working for, who's also a videographer, and so he's trying to get me to let him make me a music video, which I never had. And so I'm just trying to pick a song, which I'm just dragging my feet on because I really just don't want to be like, I don't really want to do it, but I know that it needs to happen. And like I said, we grow the most when we're outside of our comfort zone.
Yep, absolutely.
And the way that this whole industry works, like that's just part of what needs to happen in order to help get to some of the next steps, so I just have to bite the bullet and just do it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Well, thanks so much for talking to me today. I always forget to say this at the beginning, but I'm going to hit stop recording, and you don't have to leave right away. We can, debrief a little bit. I always forget to say it, but I always do a goodbye. So, thanks so much for coming on today. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This is Mary Brett.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, go check her out at Salmon Fest if you're in Alaska, and listen to her radio program. I'll put links to everything so you can find it every Wednesday afternoon. All right. Thank you. See you, everybody. All right. Thanks for listening or watching. Please remember to leave a comment, or subscribe. Check out Mary Brett. She's going to be at Salmon Fest in Alaska, and then she's coming back to Texas later this year. So keep an eye out for her shows.